King Boo is one of those weird Mario enemies that has finally made his long way to one of the main characters in the Mario universe. No matter what game he appears in, he's always doing something mischievous, whether he's messing with people, taking their money or prizes, or he's simply just trying to kill you, like in Luigi's Mansion. But with King Boo appearing in multiple mini Mario games, he also had different appearances, at least 3 main different appearances in 3 different Mario titles. And we need to exactly look at what makes King Boo different and same in these games. Is King Boo the same Boo every game, or is there different types of King Boos? And we are going to figure this out. So it's time to go on a ghost hunt and find out who is the real King Boo. Now, the very first time we get to see this creature is from Luigi's Mansion on the original Nintendo GameCube. He appeared in this weird situation where Luigi found him at the very bottom in some locked up room of the mansion, and he unleashed him and all of his Boo buddies, and King Boo pops out, and this is the first time we really get to see the character. Just from looking at him, we can tell that he is a creepy guy. We see his red beady eyes with the black shadow around them, his blue tongue, and a giant crystal on the top of his head, signifying that he does not play around. In the story, he actually captures Mario and places him in this painting, held hostage and to his will. Luigi finally gets to the room and threatens to defeat King Boo once and for all, but King Boo has tricks up his sleeve. King Boo then goes on to use a method of fear by bringing in the most terrifying thing to the bros, being Bowser. But in fact, it's not really Bowser. It's a robot mechanic powered by none other than King Boo himself. Now the question is, how does King Boo know who Bowser is? I mean, there's no ties to Bowser or King Boo before this game at all. I mean, he's literally just a ghost that was trapped in this mansion the entire time and lured the bros in, so there's probably no ties with him and Bowser whatsoever at this point. So did somehow King Boo know that the bros were scared of Mario? Did he somehow feel it in Mario and know what Mario's biggest fear was? And did he turn into Bowser in order to scare Luigi in the process? This could be some sort of tactic of torture. King Boo is then defeated and placed into a portrait of his own. But that is not it of this story, because I want to move on to the 3DS remake version of the same game. Now, many years later, the remake comes out on the Nintendo 3DS, but it keeps the gameplay mechanics and the story relatively the same, but it just adds some up-to-date features like making the textures look better and making King Boo look more like his modern look in the future games. As you can tell, King Boo still looks the same, but he's more colorful and polished this time instead of really transparent. You can see clearly his purple mouth and his purple tongue, included with his black shadow eyes and his beady pink or red eyes like in the previous game. And his gem is still on top of his head, just less detailed. One key thing to note here is that the ending is still the same like I said before, but pay attention to the fact that Luigi actually takes the gem from King Boo when he defeats him, meaning Luigi is in possession of the thing that probably keeps him alive, or at least powers him in the least. So somehow in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, King Boo returns, and he actually has his crystal again, which is going to be a big problem in this game, as we can see that the crystal is not just a look, but it also contains King Boo's power, as he controls a lot of things with it, including purple lightning, which he uses in this new location called Evershade Valley. Evershade Valley is inhabited by many different mansions along with many different ghosts, but the thing here is the ghosts are nice ghosts. Gadd spends lots of his time in his lab in Evershade Valley testing the ghosts and running diagnostics to figure out what makes them tick. So in Evershade Valley, there's this giant purple moon in the sky called, obviously, the Dark Moon, and it keeps all the ghosts in check without them going completely berserk on everybody. But King Boo comes to ruin things by zapping the moon and breaking it into shards going in each of the 5 mansions and causing the ghost of Evershade Valley to completely lose their minds. Oh yeah, and did I mention that King Boo once again takes Mario and puts him into a painting? Yep, and Luigi's back on his adventure. After Luigi gets all the pieces and he finally meets King Boo at the end, he finds out that King Boo actually has some new power-ups. But first off, let's look at the way he is appearing, because he looks pretty much the same exact way, and that was purposely intended because the remake of the original game was done after Dark Moon, where they already had the main design for King Boo laid out. In this game, King Boo has the ability to manipulate reality and even materialize certain things. He's even able to spawn an entire ghost house and chase Luigi frantically through the hallway until he is finally defeated. And then once again at the end, Luigi saves the day, getting Mario out of the painting and also getting that gem once again back from King Boo's head, and King Boo vanishes within the poltergust. But with Luigi's Mansion 3 on the horizon, we know that King Boo returns yet again somehow because we do see him at the end of the initial gameplay trailer. And as you can tell, he still has his powerful gem as he's causing spirit orbs to make the door disappear and he's chasing Luigi down the hall, which is so crazy to think that he still has all this stuff and he still keeps coming back. But one thing I keep thinking is, what if it's Gadd that keeps bringing him back? After all, he is the ghost expert. But that is getting on to a later theory that I'll talk about in another video. Now this sums up the Luigi's Mansion King Boo storyline so far, because we don't know the end of Luigi's Mansion 3 and if anything crazy will happen, but odds are Luigi will get the crystal and move on like always. But the question is, where else have we seen King Boo? Now we've seen him a lot, but this next one we move on to is a weird variant of him to say the least. In Super Mario Sunshine, there is a location named Serena Beach, and on that beach there is a giant haunted mansion inhabited by Boos, but at the very bottom of the mansion is a casino, also inhabited by Boos. But once Mario figures out the secret of the casino, he finds out the leader of the Boos and what has been causing all the mayhem from the very beginning. The King Boo in this game looks drastically different from the one in Luigi's Mansion. This one isn't as creepy, but just weird looking, more like Goofy, if anything. His eyes aren't really creepy, they're blue and they kind of look almost as if he's drunk. His tongue is extremely long and it's red along with his mouth, not deep dark purple. And he likes to salivate all over the map, which is also really weird. But his crown is the most noticeable thing of all. It does not consist of the purple gem that normally rests at the top. He can also have weirdly crazed eyes and this spiral tail, which is really weird because it actually resembles a seashell to me, which also makes sense in the case of Super Mario Sunshine, considering the fact that it's a beach-themed Mario game. This version of King Boo is just a trickster. He likes to mess around and be annoying. He brings up this giant thing, which is a slot machine, and Mario has to spin it in order to get a certain amount of combinations. And one of the combinations is he'll shoot out enemies, or he'll shoot out bottles of water, coins, but one of them is he'll shoot out fruit, which will indeed shoot out a chili pepper, which Mario can then throw into his mouth, causing his mouth to be severely in pain. After you defeat him, he'll fly around the room and eventually pop open, revealing this orange goop coming out of him. Now this reminds me of Bowser Jr. because throughout the game, he spreads colored goop around the town and blames it on Mario. So this could be a creation of Bowser Jr. and nothing more. So now we can take a look at both King Boos and we can clearly tell that these are not the same King Boo. I mean, not only are they completely different looking in their models, but they completely appear on different sides of the map. I mean, King Boo from Luigi's Mansion is clearly in the Mushroom Kingdom, but the King Boo from Sunshine is only inhabited there on Isle Delfino. So this is still not enough information to pack up and go home because we're still forgetting about a mainline King Boo, and he is the third one in this video and the last one to talk about before we compare all three. So let's get into it. Nintendo then drip feeds us this version of King Boo that appears in many more Mario games to come, as bosses and even playable characters, but right now we're just looking at the boss versions, and he's just pretty much a giant white Boo with a smile and a gold crown. Nothing really creepy comes off of him, and doesn't really scream this is a terrifying enemy. In the official Mario Wiki, it does state that King Boo is in fact just that, a king of the Boos, and Bowser often asks for his help in order to stop the Mario brothers in their tracks. It also states that King Boo loves his fellow Boos, and he treats them like family and friends, and he hates to see them go, and he also uses them as part of his army, but they're always family and friends foremost, so he also has a heart, which doesn't really show off in the Luigi's Mansion version. And with the boss battles with King Boo, most of them appear in side-off games such as Mario Kart or even Mario Party, and he's more of just a trickster, causing just mild mayhem, nothing serious or game-changing. But King Boo is not just an enemy. He likes to do things on his downtime that's fun, like play a sporting event with the bros or even drive carts around the track. So it's clear that King Boo, at least this one anyhow, isn't just a deranged serial killer that's out to just kill everybody in the Mushroom Kingdom, including the bros, and put people in picture frames, like the first one. Sometimes he even sacrifices himself to be like spawning practice in Mario Tennis, where he just gets pelted by tennis balls, and he can even ice skate. Look at him, he's floating above the ice. It's not even ice skating, but it's cute. Now looking at our three King Boos, we can at least say that the one from Super Mario Sunshine probably only exists from Isle Delfino and Isle Delfino only. Considering the fact that it may have been created by Bowser Jr. out of the goop, means that that King Boo may not even be real in the first place, and just something that Bowser Jr. used to duplicate the real King Boo. Now before we just end the video and say, well, one of the King Boos were fake and the other 2 King Boos are just different King Boos from different areas, let's look closely at one thing in particular, and that is their crowns. Now when we're comparing the crowns, one thing I noticed is that they actually look incredibly similar. I know of course Luigi's Mansion King Boo has the gem on top, but let's look at the gold crown itself because it's actually almost formed the same way, except for the gems on the gold crown itself, like the blue and the red. It does look the same. It even has the little diamond-shaped pieces at the tips of the crown. And then maybe when King Boo put the crystal on top of the crown, it kind of flared out the sides. As you can see, they're kind of sticking outward rather than straight up like the King Boo we see in today's games. So perhaps it's not King Boo that turns all creepy and evil and wanting to put people in picture frames and kidnap, but maybe it's the gem that makes him evil. Remember the Dark Moon? Maybe it's something like that that's on King Boo's head. Maybe that's where the crystal originated from, and maybe that's where it all pieced together. After all, we do know that the Dark Moon causes ghosts to go out of control and turn crazy and evil and start attacking. And maybe this is what it's doing to King Boo, and when Luigi takes it off of his head, he turns into his regular form, which he's still kind of a nuisance but not as bad. And maybe this is why the Luigi's Mansion games happen is because of this crystal, not because of King Boo. Whenever this crystal gets placed on King Boo's crown, he turns into this version and wants to just attack and take people away. So maybe this crystal is actually the true enemy. But who keeps putting the crystal on King Boo's head? Now, of course, the obvious thing is these ghosts are probably still just 2 different types of King Boos, but what if... Yamamba! 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 Yamamba!